this morning. I just want to, my question is on the repayment of student loan. There are a lot of migrants and refugees, because I'm kind of taking it to that level, who are living overseas. I mean, they've enjoyed that system of free education, habitation, and it's currently there is the current strategy policy in place to encourage people living overseas to pay back their student loan is really ridiculous, and now it's being criminalized, so making it worse. I mean, I've got friends who are living in Australia, in the Middle East, and Europe, and they're not thinking of coming back. I mean, that is ridiculous. And I love this country as much as I do where I originally come from, but in a situation whereby you pick people like that, in that situation, you just say, forget it, goodbye to New Zealand, I'm not coming back anymore. So what would your government do to encourage people to, especially those migrants and refugees who have enjoyed that system and are living overseas, to repay their student loan?
I'm going to start because I'm probably the most negative of the one sitting here. So, because I spoke, New Zealand First voted against the bill that is currently in select committee, and I was what was called a credit controller, but that's just a fancy name for a debt collector actually. So I have a thing about debt. New Zealand First believes if you have a debt you need to repay it, and what I know about debt is that if you leave it too long, it becomes a psychological burden as much as a financial one. So what I sent Winston Peters into the select committee to do was...
you sent Winston in?
I have my areas of expertise. You people misunderstand the relationship. Anyway, so what New Zealand First argued for was actually to use international debt collection agencies. And I know that people are going to be horrified by that. But my experience of debt collection is that agencies are supposed to approach people to say you have an outstanding debt. How do we come to an arrangement to fix it? It is we do not support criminalising our own citizens, whether coming into the country or going out of the country. So that's where New Zealand First is at right now. Agreeably, we would prefer to actually have a dollar for dollar repayment scheme that encourages people to come back and to be able to repay it, and then eventually get to a place where you don't have a debt at all.
The bill's interesting. I mean, obviously the criminalisation aspect is ridiculous, and unfortunately, it seems from where the Nats are at the moment, they're going to go ahead with that. So that we oppose it. I mean, everybody in the panel actually opposes it. It's insane. Garrett's right. It's about carrots rather than overwhelming amounts of sticks. When we brought in the interest-free loan policy, one of the reasons we made loans interest-free if you were a resident in New Zealand was to act as an encouragement to stay in New Zealand. It's marginal how well that's worked, but that was the purpose of that. What I think we have to add to that are a range of different instruments. So we want to look more closely at scholarships and so on that actually allow people to stay in New Zealand and wipe off parts of their debt as they go, or be bonded to stay in that. We think we do need to look at more of that. We've got to look at arrangements for payment when you're overseas, and this is the real difficulty, because I had an electorate office case the other day of a young woman who's now being pursued by a debt collection company in Australia because there is now that agreement. Unfortunately, it's not playing out the way that Tracy talks about. People aren't going in and saying, how do we get an arrangement? They're just going and saying, you owe us a whole lot of money and the bailiffs will be around soon. So we actually have to, if that's going to be, and I'm actually quite uncomfortable with that approach, but what I think we need is a greater ability for people to come to arrangements to make payments. The IRD has a lot of flexibility actually about what it does in terms of penalties particularly, and what it can do with those, so I think there needs to be more done around that. And then I think that overall, if we focus on the fact that what this debt is made up of is really important. I mean, in the end, this debt is made up of the fact that people are having to borrow to eat and pay fees, obviously. But if we actually address it at its root cause, we will make huge progress in that. So a combination of all those different measures, but the criminalising stuff is just a gimmick and it's stupid.